Hello, it's Hayley Bowen from the Marketing on Purpose show. Happy 4th of July! Woo! And happy summer to you guys. This is going to be a fun show. It's one of my favorites to do because it's just ask me your questions. So I have some questions that were previously submitted, and I'm just going to run through them and share with you what to expect today and the questions that were asked. And if you have any questions, I want you to ask it. So if you're watching live and you have a question, throw it in the comments and I will do my best to answer it live. The purpose of this show, this special edition of Ask Hayley or Dear Hayley, is if you are stuck in any way from a marketing perspective, or if you, sorry, I got a weird thing on my eye. If you are stuck or if you are lacking perspective on something, oh my gosh, my eye's a mess. Sorry, then this is the place to come. So I'm excited to be here. We've got some really good questions. And so I'm going to share with you what are the questions that we are going to cover today. And if you have any questions, again, put them in the comments. So we've got a question. So I'm just going to read the 4 questions that I'm going to cover, just so you know what to expect. So what is the best marketing branding alternative to IP protection, such as patents, in order to have a competitive advantage? So we're going to talk about that. So how can you differentiate? How can you get a competitive advantage if you don't own, I'm guessing if you don't own a IP protection or a patent for something that you're doing? The next one is, how do you reach the elderly populations that might not be on social media? And then we have, is there anything we should be doing differently in the summer on social media? And finally, how do you know what are the key triggers for engaging with clients through marketing? So I'm going to be talking about all that stuff. So let's just jump right in. So the first question, I actually had to paraphrase it so it would fit on the screen. But what is the best marketing and branding alternative to IP protection, such as patents, in order to have a competitive advantage? So I'm guessing that, so if you have an innovative product or technology or something like that, I'm not a patent lawyer, but I say get it patented. If you do have something innovative, something that you've invented, get it patented. But there's lots of ways from a competitive advantage point of view or a differentiation point of view that you can stand out, even if you're not the one who has some patented technology, right? If you can fill a need or want for your ideal customer, then you have a good product to sell, right? So there's 6 ways that I normally talk about in how you can actually differentiate yourself from others. So, you know, I'll give you a kind of high level on those 6, and you can kind of think about them and say, how would this work for me? Typically with my clients, we go through an exercise that is called the sweet spot exercise. I know, terrible name. But basically, we're looking at what your ideal client wants, which you find out by talking to them and doing the research. We look at what your competitors are doing, what they're offering, and we look at what you're offering. And you try to find what your ideal client wants that your competitor is not offering and you are. That's a differentiator. If they are doing the same thing as you, they're offering the same thing as you, not a differentiator, right? It's a waste of time. So you need to find a differentiator. And if there's no unique benefit or patented, IP that you have, then you need to look at the other options for differentiation. They are the first one that I always talk about, because it's really hot right now, and millennials and Gen Z are really loving it, is purpose. Purpose is a differentiator. So if you have a really strong purpose as the founder of a company that your ideal client cares about, then you could potentially use that as a differentiator in the market. So it could be more important to your ideal client than that small difference in, maybe the technology that they might have. As long as you're able to give them the same benefit, they might want what you're offering because of the purpose. A lot of people, I think, I don't have the stats in front of me, but, I think it's a high percentage, like above 50, that will switch brands for one with purpose. Right. So purpose, the thing is, though, you can't just say, my purpose is this, and that's it. You have to live and breathe it, and you have to make that part of your brand. Right. So any of these things, you can't just be like, okay, my differentiator is this, and never do anything with it, and never talk about it, and don't make it the key element of your messaging. So I know if you're going to use marketing and you're going to use one of these differentiators, you are going to have to own it, execute on it consistently over time. Okay, so purpose is one of them. Another one that I like to talk about, because it's something that you can control, is core value. So some companies differentiate themselves on a specific core value that is meaningful to their ideal client. And the best example of how this has worked for a company is Avis and Hertz. So they're the rent-a-cars. And I don't know the dates of this, but one of them decided that they were going to, this was, I don't know, a decade ago maybe, that they were going to use a core value to differentiate themselves, right? And they were number 2 in the market. I think it was Avis, number 2. And they said, we're number 2, but we try harder. And that was their whole marketing. So very simple marketing message. We try harder. And they went from losing money to like doubling or tripling their like anticipated revenue. Like it was gangbusters for them because their ideal clients cared about that. They're like, you know what? We don't want to go to number 1. We want to go to the one that tries the hardest, that cares the most about our business. So they differentiated on a core value. There's lots of examples of that too. So of course there's the unique benefit. So if you do something that other companies don't do and give a benefit that is meaningful is the key word here, to your ideal client, you could differentiate on that. The caution with that is if it's easily replicated, other people can do it. And that's why the patent is really important, right? You can differentiate on niche or specialty. So if you focus in on a specific client niche, regardless of whether you have that IP, you could potentially be more engaging. So this is really for, people who are consultants and stuff like that. Really good, really, really good, because people want to work with people who are really specialized so that they know that they can help you specifically. So think about, is there a specialty or a niche that makes sense for your business that you could differentiate on? Experience is hot too. Experience really matters to customers today. Hey, Catherine. And you can differentiate on that. So if you are willing to put your eggs in that basket, you live and breathe and you create an experience that nobody else is creating that is meaningful to your ideal customers, that is a really good way to differentiate yourself. If you think of Porter Airlines, it's one of my favorite. They are differentiated so much on experience. They care so much about their flyers' experience. I mean, they had to recreate airplanes and stuff that gave more leg room. They give you wine glasses. They give you a cup. Like, it is unbelievable, the Porter experience. And that's what they're known for. So you can also be known for an experience that you're creating for your customers. And then the last one is process. I don't love process, but it is good for some people. So the best example I can think of is like maybe FedEx, or no, Uber. Uber is a really good one. So Uber changed, and Amazon, they changed the process. They changed the way people did things when they came out with their businesses. And you can differentiate on that. You just have to make sure that it's not super easy to replicate, right? Because other people can replicate it, and then you lose your differentiator. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Next question is, how do you reach the elder? Oh, I have these questions. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, I love these crawlers in Be Live. Invite your friends if you're watching. Invite your friends. Okay. The next question. Is there anything, I didn't put these in the same order, I have them on my sheet. Is there anything you should do differently in the summer on social media? So this all depends on the life cycle and the cycle of your business. So if you are a business that, is heavy into, if your busiest time is the summer, then yes, you should be doing something different on social media. If your slowest time is the summer, you should be doing something different on social media. What are your ideal customers doing in the summer? That's how you know. The other thing is some people think that people are not on social media in the summer because they're out enjoying the sun, right? Let me tell you, if you've been watching Facebook yesterday when all those pictures and everything went down, you could see that there was a lot of people on social media saying, what is going on, right? So people are on social media in the summer, but they're more like, I think people are more laid back in the summer. So they're scrolling, they're looking for entertainment. Social media is an entertainment platform. So you got to remember that. They're not there to buy. So if you are going to sell on social media, you need to also entertain and give value and not just sell, right? Summer, winter, it doesn't matter. So look at the cycle of your business and figure out what are your ideal clients doing during the summer. Are they taking time to plan for next year because they're not busy with clients, or it's not their busy time, so they actually have free time to do planning and educate themselves and stuff like that? Well, if that's the case, then you're going to pump out some educational content, right? Because this is the time that they have. When fall hits and Christmas is coming and you know that they're going to be swamped with other things, that's not the best time to try to educate people, right? And if you like, I try to create a little bit more lightheartedness in the summer too, for my ideal clients, because I know that a lot of my ideal clients are entrepreneurs who became entrepreneurs to have some flexibility in their life, to spend time with the people that they love, and to take advantage of the season of summer, right? So because of that, I know that they want to be enjoying themselves in the summer for the most part. And so I'm pumping out content, but I'm trying to pump out content that is engaging and fun and reflective, but that also hits the points that I need to make for my business, so that when I do launch something big, which I launch when they're ready for it, which is going to be in September, they're already like nurtured through the summer. They already know who I am. They like, admire, and trust me. That's what I'm doing this summer. This is for my business, creating that relationship with people. So hopefully that answers your question, but really you have to look at your own individual business and what your ideal customers are focused on in the summer. And then you'll know what kind of content you should be pushing out. Okay. Next question. I love this question, and I actually did a little bit of research for this one, because I don't have any clients right now who are trying to attract the elderly population. So the question is, how do you reach the elderly populations that might be on social media, or that might not be on social media? So before I give you some ideas for that, I want to share with you, I pulled some numbers from Facebook. So if they're going to be on social media, it's going to be Facebook, right? The older populations for sure. So I know that Stephanie asked this through Headspace TV. And so I checked her out, and I know that she's from the Fredericton area. She's in New Brunswick. So I pulled some stats from New Brunswick, Canada, just to show you where the people are, how old the demographics are on Facebook specifically. So you might be surprised at this. So if you look at, so basically what I did is, and you guys can do this for your own region, I went into Facebook and I went into audience insights. You go to like manage ads or something, and then audience insights. And then you can actually fill in, there we go. You can fill in some information down the side here. So the first thing I filled in is I wanted to see what percentage of the New Brunswick population was on Facebook at each age kind of thing. So that's this chart at the top. So this is, whoops, where we go. So this gives you a really good idea. So they're all around, so the younger generations, really a low percentage, 12% of the Facebook users are from the younger generation. But it's not a significant difference from age 25 to 65 plus. So for instance, 25 to 35-year-olds, there's 19% of all the New Brunswick people who are on Facebook are within that demographic. But there's 16% of all of the people on Facebook for New Brunswick that are 65 plus. That's only a 3% difference. So if you're going to use Facebook for, the 25 to 34-year-olds, you can use it for the 65 plus because they're there too. But then I wanted to see, what are they doing differently, right? So maybe they're not interacting the same way. So that's when I basically went to Audience Insights again, and I know you probably can't see these very well. I honed in a little bit more on putting the age demographic in the side here. So I just chose New Brunswick again, and then I said, I want to know what the people who are 65 plus on Facebook are actually doing. So you'll see when you do that, that it has, these are kind of the frequency of activities that they do, and this is the devices that they use. That's mostly what you can get. Because I always look at this because I want to find out when I'm working with my clients if their ideal clients are going to interact with them on Facebook, right? Because usually Facebook becomes one of the priority channels because the majority of the people are on Facebook, regardless of the demographic, other than the ones who are like under, what is it here? Yeah, like 18 to 24-year-olds have the lowest percentage. They're still there, but they're not. That's not really the platform. If you were going for them, I would not recommend that. But for the older ones, for sure. Anyway, 65 plus, you can see here, it tells you how they index on different activities on Facebook. So not only are they on Facebook, but they're actually commenting more than the rest of the population on Facebook. So in the last 30 days, on average, they commented 10 times. Whereas the rest of Facebook, whereas the rest of Facebook commented 7 times. So they don't like as many posts, but they do share. So they shared 3 times, whereas the rest of Facebook only shared twice in the last 30 days. And they click on ads on par. So if you're trying to attract that generation, you could do some ads and they click just the same amount as all of the other demographics. You can see here it's on par. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that, but I do have some ideas for you. So if you did not want to use social media, it depends on 3 things. So, well, it depends on a couple of things. One is, what you said elderly, and I don't know what elderly actually means to you, because I'm elderly to, my kids probably, right? But if you look generationally, so baby boomers who are now between the ages of 55 and 74, they are on Facebook. But there's a couple other things about that generation that could potentially benefit you. So I pulled out a couple. So one of the things is they really value peer reviews. Peer reviews, right? So if you had some kind of referral program where you could generate more peer reviews, that would be beneficial to attracting that audience, right? Also, they like a lot of face-to-face. So they do like, they are on Facebook, but they also like the face-to-face. So depending on what your product or service is, if you went to some of the places that they frequent and offered a workshop, an event, if you went to some of the trade shows they were at, they like that face-to-face interaction, okay? So that's baby boomers. Now the next generation, who is even older, is age 74 to 91. So this is who you're trying to target. This generation is actually called the silent generation. And these guys are very, very loyal. They really care about helping people, and they really care about community. So if you could put some kind of like community spin or spin on your marketing in that they are helping, or how they could help by helping you to share the word, depending on your product or service, that could be a good potential. They like private recognition over public recognition. So if they are on social media, these guys probably aren't just sharing a bunch of stuff to look good. And we know that a lot of people are doing that. Nobody wants to admit it, but you know, social media, everybody's trying to put their best foot forward. Not everybody. A lot of people are trying to put their best foot forward. These aren't what these guys are doing. They like paper-based stuff. They still love paper. So if you want to do some kind of flyers to where, you know, drop them off to where they're frequenting, you know, mail outs, that kind of thing. They really like paper. Just, you know, you might want to make the print a bit larger. Their communication style is a little bit more formal, because they're not into like, hey bud, blah 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 blah, right? They're more, you know, this, like, they want no nonsense, straightforward, this is what you get, this is what my offer is, kind of thing. But yeah, they like paper. So they're the ones who are reading the newspapers, right? Still the physical newspapers and the flyers and stuff like that, and also checking their mail. Both of these groups are really both of these groups have emails for the most part. So you can also do some email marketing to them. And then my final word of advice is, no matter what generation you're trying to target, you need to actually do the customer research. And the best way to figure out how to reach your ideal customer is to find some people who are your ideal customers in that age demographic and talk to them about if they're already working with you, how they found you, like all of, you know, all that kind of stuff. And if they're not working with you yet, talk to them in general about where do they find out about things, right? Do you, like, is it on TV commercials? How do you figure out what you want to buy in your area? So if your expertise is in, you know, you own a yoga studio or a wellness studio, and you talk to them about, you know, if you were to do something like this, how would you find out about it? You may find too that depending on what they say, they might say, oh, I always listen to my daughter-in-law, or I get that information from my kids, or whatever. Well, then you might want to target the younger generation who is influencing the older generation. But the best way to know is to actually ask the questions. Okay. Next question. Last question. So if you have any questions, ask your questions, because once I'm done answering this one, I am calling it a day. All right. So here's the last question. And it's from Rivers, guys. So how do you know what are the key triggers for engaging with clients through marketing? So I'm assuming he's talking buying triggers, right? So buying triggers are typically emotional things. So you want them to respond emotionally to something, which will trigger them to buy. Whether that's happy, sad, whatever, it's an emotional based decision. And also there's life triggers too. There's things that are happening in people's lives that will trigger buying behavior, right? You don't buy a graduation card if there's no one graduating in your life, right? So you have both of those. You've got, and you know, event related things are emotional as well, but you're looking at events mostly, and you're looking at what are the emotional reasons why people buy. So the question was, how do you know what are those triggers? You ask. I cannot push this enough. There is nothing more valuable to your marketing than doing customer research. And doing interview style customer research, I think, is one of the best ways to really understand what the buying triggers are for your ideal customer. So if you want to do that, you can sign up for my mini buyer persona bootcamp, or you can ask this one question. So I think I've shared this question before in this group. but I will do it again. So if you want to understand why people are buying what you are selling, then you can ask, from when you made, here's the question, it's a long one, from when you made your decision to purchase, or from when you made the decision that you wanted to buy something to solve for X, which is whatever you're solving for, to when you landed on me or my service or my product, what is the process that you went through? So you're going to ask, what was the thing that made you decide, oh, I actually need a solution? And then what was the process you went through? And you just want them to talk, and you want to take a lot of notes, right? And feel free to ask why questions through, because basically you're trying to get down, you're trying to peel back all of those layers to get down to the emotional reason why someone has bought what you're selling. And I'll give you an example. So I'll give you a personal example. I just signed up to the gym. And I've been knowing that I wanted to sign up for some time. So I stopped going to one of the gyms. We moved kind of far away. I knew I wouldn't get there. And anyways, and I got really busy. And so I've been kind of putting it off. And then last week, my kids said, hey, Mom, this summer we want to go to Trigo again. For those of you who don't know, Trigo is like you're swinging from the vines or like from ropes and stuff like that. And I have been going with them. I've probably gone with them 3 or 4 times over the last few years. And I gained a significant amount of weight in the last 1.5 years since I started my business. And I'm working on it, don't worry. But I still was putting off going to the gym, putting it off. And when they asked me that question, that was the trigger for me. Because I was like, I do not want to tell my kids that I physically don't know if I'm able to do something with them. So my trigger was emotionally based on them. And within 5 minutes, I signed up for the gym. It was an emotional trigger. So understanding what those triggers are would help that gym to figure out how to communicate through their marketing, right? So how to remind people of why they're doing what they do. So if they communicated about, not wanting to miss out, that might be a good communication, because that was a trigger for me. So those are the kind of things that you want to get down to. So if somebody interviewed me on that specifically, I would have told them that story. And then they would have some fuel to start understanding why people are making those decisions. And then when you talk to enough people, you can start to see some patterns. And it's those patterns that really are the buying triggers for your ideal customers as a group. So hopefully that is useful. Again, if you really want to hone in on that ideal customer for you, because that is the absolute #1 most important thing to do for your marketing. I have a mini boot camp for that. I run it all the time. I never want people to have to wait to identify and understand their ideal customers, because nothing you can do from a marketing perspective is going to be as effective as if you've actually done the research. So I will share that link. But that's my advice to find those emotional buying triggers. If you don't just ask that one question, you can do this mini boot camp. So if anybody else has any questions, I will take them. Otherwise, share this video. If you know anybody who is interested in learning more about marketing their business, who may be wondering about some of the social media things we talked about, share this video so that they can learn from this, and so that they can join us on Headspace TV and see all of the amazing hosts that we have. Because this is just marketing, but we've got a ton of other hosts who are all over the board, and there's a few different marketing hosts there. So if you're interested, Headspace TV is where you want to be. Share this video. Have a great day, everyone. Happy summer.